into this game between JulyZerg and FXOMoonan. It is a ZVT and O-Day.
Oh my gosh, Marcus, it's happening. I know there's JulyZerg fans out there. Whether you're out in the crowd or in the stream, just give a clap for JulyZerg. That's us clapping. I don't know if you can hear that, but we are vigorously smacking our hands together to make sure that July gets the respect he deserves. And also another Korean player, yet one more known on the North American and Europe servers, is FXOMoonan, who, though he has had a bad run, extremely good player, we're clapping for Moonan as well.
You know, all about you to me is he's been writing this line. I mean, in 2010 we saw him pull out, and my apologies, I'll try not to say all about you, but Moonan, this is of course when he was under the name, under that banner. He made a name for himself, a lot of big key victories. But, you know, Moonan now looking for an opportunity to shine, as many of these players are. And, of course, a win versus JulyZerg, well, come on. You don't have to be a rocket science to know that that would be absolutely a very, very impressive win in all of this. So I'm really excited for this. And then also, you know, I think ZVTs these days are a real big treat. It's one of my favorite matchups to watch. I know it's a very classic matchup when it comes to StarCraft, but in StarCraft 2, it's certainly become my favorite matchup by far.
Yeah, there's just so much cool micro tricks that go on, and it all began with the evolution of the Baneling. People realized how powerful it was against the Marine, so people started to steer clear from the Marines, but then realized, hey, you know, I can spread my Marines out, use those tanks, reinforce, and I can hold off huge numbers of Banelings with good control. And Zerg started to say, okay, well, if you're spreading our units out, I'm going to start picking and prodding at the edges with those Mutalisks, so it becomes this very dynamic unit control battles that we end up seeing take place over, you know, 30, 45 seconds of time, where these battles are slowly rearranging until one player can see an opportunity.
Yeah, a lot of back and forth, and you know, it is the opposite race, which is helping the advancement of the other races, because, you know, Terran figures out how to do one thing, and then of course the Zerg is like, well, gosh, how am I gonna use what is given to me to go ahead and compete against that? And so there's this back and forth trade as far as skill going up, and right now I think that the ZVT matchup is really, really even and balanced. So we did have a gas steal over here from July. Marine already working on that, and the factory is going to go down right away, not in vision of July, so he, you know, kind of knows what he saw when he first entered in here, but the factory is going up, and he will go ahead and let that extractor finish. Meanwhile, the gas and the fuel is up for JulyZerg. The extractor almost about ready to complete, and he did go ahead and fast expand off of that. Hatch went down first, so we'll see what Moonan's going to have in store for us, as that factory's about 60% done.
And I always love this opening, the classic double Hellion opening, where you build a reactor on the barracks, give it to the factory, and begin pressing with Hellions 2 at a time. Evolved early on in the lifetime of StarCraft 2 because the Hellions were so fast, could begin doing the harassment right away. Always good to do on Metalopolis, but we've always seen a sort of wax and wane of use of this strategy, because people have found more and more evolutions of making it extremely effective. Let's see what Moonan's transition is off this. A lot of times you'll see players go for a tank Marine mixture right away. It looks like Moonan getting that tech lab. Very commonly you'll see a re-swap on these to begin making Marines 2 at a time and start getting tanks, but we've even seen players like Empire Cost go for an extremely fast stim rush with this style. It just has so many correct ways to play it off.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, one of the things that Terrans will combat themselves with is just like making sure that they're doing damage with something like this. There's two ways to go about it: either real hard, or, you know, just kind of use it to soften some things up, maybe get your opponent to overreact a little bit. Of course, you're also talking about JulyZerg, a guy who has built his play around not overreacting and building just enough to squeak by. So, of course, early sight of these Hellions will help a lot, and that certainly does get fried, but it gives the information to JulyZerg that this is a threat coming my way.
And here's the re-swap. Looks like we're going to see a transition into tanks and Marines. Another barracks being constructed to get extra upgrades for those Marines. And with these 4 Hellions out on the field, now we're going to see Moonan begin trying to press in and do a little bit of damage. Queen, great at blocking Hellions, but not killing them off with this range advantage. And the Hellions are just trying to sneak around to get a little bit of damage dealt, but oh, the Hellions are now committed to the backside. Will they do enough damage? And they're sneaking in the back. Great control by Moonan. July in an awkward spot, doesn't get to kill off any of the Hellions, but 20 Zerglings en route.
Yeah, and you know, the Spine Crawler was a great idea, having seen those Hellions. Unfortunately, just not in the best position. I don't even think it got a hit off, so these Hellions are still a threat outside the base. Going to burn down a Creep Tumor here, and we got a lot of Zerglings heading over to the main base of Moonan. In fact, going to sit down. Oh, it's wide open, and the Zerglings are going to go inside. Marines are going to get surrounded almost immediately. There is one tank out, and these Zerglings are going to do a lot of damage. Going to have to pull the SCVs in order to take care of this situation. We even see all the Hellions coming back, and now the Zergling, the last Zergling, will do some last-minute scouting. I'll get the information before I die, but slipping in there and even taking out the number of Marines he did, these are all softened up as well. Nice little counterattack there by JulyZerg.
Moonan trying to just clean up his base, but with one of those classic mistakes of not having a good eye on the front of your base's supply depots do need to be lifted pretty frequently, because you never know when those zones are going to swing up into the main. Puts you in a very fragile position, but we are seeing Moonan begin to get tanks in siege mode and stim. Those are the key pieces to his first big attack.
Yep, and you know, the timing with all of that should come out just perfect. We see the Hellions getting repaired here, and you know, seeing more and more Terran being, you know, not throwing away their units. If they have the opportunity to pull back and save that unit after it had done some damage, or to, you know, done some, you know, good economic damage, whatever he decides to do with that, getting the repair on any unit, whether that be a Banshee, a Thor, a tank, it can really extend the life of the Terran army. Now, we do have the third base going down right now. Queen heading on over, and these Hellions look like they want to come back in for another attack. They're going to actually split themselves up a little bit, make their way into the third. We'll spot that hatchery is going down, and Queen is going to try to get back on that creep. Few Lings are going to come out, going to go for this around, and they will go ahead and stop off the creep. They'll have a little bit of a disadvantage. So, fortunately for him, he can watch these Hellions beat on that hatchery all day.
Great snipe on that creep tumor, just making sure that Zerg doesn't get any extra creep spread. And this is such great aggression by, Moonan, but July sneaks in from the back, using a little bit of extra creep from that Overlord to get an even better surround. And we're seeing those Hellions from Moonan still being controlled well, but he is in an awkward spot walking behind those minerals. Moonan having a phenomenal control. Wow, doing a lot more damage than he really should have. He might even clean up all these. Look at this Commander Hellion with 20 kills. And in the midst of all of that, Moonan still not missing a beat back home with that macro.
Yeah, but JulyZerg is about ready to spit out 12 mutas from his hatcheries. He's getting some more Lings out on the field because he did sacrifice quite a few to take care of those Hellions. And there was some great control there by Moonan, even splitting the weakest Hellion off to try to throw the Lings off. And now these mutas are going to be heading over to his opponent's base. Now we can see that already Moonan, with this timing on the missile turrets, they are going to be finish up the moment they get in here, and he might be able to pick off a few of these Marines that are all alone, but instead he's going to immediately go out, and it finishes just in time. What's there in the main, and wow, JulyZerg actually going to take a little bit more damage than I think he wanted to, losing one muta after being softened up by those missile turrets.